Good afternoon. Welcome to our live Q&A session for Summer B Move-In. My name is Sandy Brash, and I work with Marketing Communications here for Housing and Residence Life. To get started, I just want to say, on behalf of all of our department staff, I want to congratulate all of our new incoming students. Congratulations on joining UCF, and welcome to the Knight family. We're going to go ahead and get started with introductions. So if we can start with you, Donovan.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandy. My name is Donovan Jackson. I am a coordinator here in the Department of Housing and Residence Life. I oversee one of the Summer B communities, the Neptune community. Woohoo! And I've been working here for 5 years. Today is actually my 5-year work anniversary, June 10, 2016. So welcome. I oversee the Neptune community, as mentioned. We house about 600 or so, 600, 650, depending on the year, first-year students, and we have about 13 RAs here that serve as well. So welcome.
Thanks, John. Meredith?
Hi, good afternoon. We're so glad that everyone could join us today. And congrats on the 5 years, Donovan. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So my name is Meredith. I serve as the Associate Director for Occupancy Management and Assignments here at UCF Housing. And I have been here too long to count. I think we're going on 19 years now. So I guess I came for grad school and never left because I loved it. So we're excited for y'all to join us as well.
That seems pretty common around UCF. I've been here for over 10 years. So everybody in our audience, you have a very experienced group of folks with lots of information available to you. So feel free to go ahead and start dropping your questions in the chat. We'll get to those in just a moment. Before we jump into those, a couple of housekeeping items. This is a live stream session, but it is being recorded. If you would like to rewatch this, the recording will be found on our Housing Facebook and YouTube pages. We'll start off with a couple of quick tips and then jump right into our Q&A. We'll be covering questions that are posted live and also a few pre-submitted questions. And we also have staff available and responding to questions in the comments. We have staff from both housing and dining services, so you can go ahead and pose all of your housing and dining related questions, and we will get to everything that we can. If for any reason you have questions that are not answered here, if something is maybe very specific to your student, you can always reach out to us by email, by phone, or you can later on sign up to join one of our live virtual housing tours. We're giving those weekly on Wednesdays. And during those, you can speak with our housing ambassadors and learn more information. Virtual tour times are currently posted on our website through the end of June. So we're going to get started with a really brief overview of our website, specifically just a glance at the move-in pages, because that is the home of a great deal of information. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up now. All right, so if you're not familiar with the housing website, this is it. We've got the main navigation here at the top: choices, costs, tours, apply, residents, resources is where we're going to spend most of our information, and then of course contact. So if you do need to reach out to us, you can reach us through our contact page. You can also find information about us and our staff directory under that tab. But we're focusing on move-in today. So the resources tab is going to have all of our move-in information. So when you get to our move-in area of our website, there are quite a few pages, as you can see in the navigation. You're starting on the general information page, which includes move-in dates. Summer B and fall are there, and as you can see, a lot of information for fall is still to be announced. We do encourage you to click through all of these pages, especially before you arrive and move-in day. So on the before you arrive page, you're going to find out all of the information about move-in appointments, proof of vaccination or testing, whichever option you prefer, our packing list, our community living guide, information about room assignments, ID cards, payments, your post office box, parking permits, immunizations. There is a ton of information there for you to look up before you get here. The move-in day page is going to have information. First, we have some links that are specific to our Union West and Rosen campuses. You can find them in the navigation or here in the main copy. And then we've got a great deal of information about what to expect when you arrive. So this is all pretty detailed. We strongly recommend that you read through all of it. Talks about what to do if you are submitting vaccination information or if you're planning to test. We've got an interactive move-in map here that is linked to a Google map. So we've got all the different locations you'll need to know about for move-in. Parking and check-in details, including all the locations that you need to know about. And then information about what to do when you're in your room. So that is a quick glance at our move-in pages for before you arrive and move-in day. After check-in is there, the delayed arrival page is not active for Summer B. If you do click onto that page, you may find some outdated information. That is because we do not have a delayed arrival process for Summer B. And then, of course, we have some FAQs and a little bit of information about local storage and moving companies that have asked us to share their information. So getting back to some of my favorite people, we're going to go ahead and get into our live questions and our pre-submitted questions. So it looks like the folks in the live chat are still submitting quite a few questions. So we're going to start with pre-submitted and then move into the live chat as well. So in our pre-submitted questions, we've got quite a few. The first one here, I believe, is for Dawn. Jordan asked us, will there be any events we should attend after we move in?
Absolutely, Jordan, great question. So basically for events, what we typically have is we collaborate with our first year experience office, and there's going to be typically some events that students that are here for Summer B on campus, they can attend. So in years past, this has looked like different, for example, a cooking demo, game nights, movie nights, and what have you. What I will say, though, is given what our university is doing as we reopen the university for, post-COVID interaction, we are still working on the schedule for programs and what that's going to look like specifically. I would say look out in your emails. Make sure to be attached to your night's email. You'll get a lot of correspondence there about some of the programming that we'll do. When it comes to specifically for you all living in the community, the residential halls, and what we'll be doing with our residential curriculum is what we call it in Residence Life. We'll have a lot of community meeting information that we'll give to you all through our RAs. Your resident assistants will be there to have some conversations with those that are living in the halls for Summer B. We'll have a lot of community and building wide and also individual interaction on a community level. So look forward to that.
Thank you, John. Our next question is regarding check-in, and so we're going to ask this one of Meredith. Linnea asked, are COVID tests required?
So that's a great question, and we definitely want to make sure that we get good information out to everyone. So everyone checking in for Summer B needs to either test for COVID-19 with a rapid test with our testing vendor at check-in, or receive prior approval of their vaccination documentation from Student Health Services. So testing is only required if you are not able to submit vaccination documentation. As Sandy just showed our fabulous website information, there is a form with Student Health Services that you can complete that you would submit a scan or a photo of your vaccination card, and they would then send you an update or an approval email. You would show that at check-in, and then given that, you do not have to test. If you do need to test for COVID-19, you can sign up for that with your move-in appointment. And so everyone who's coming needs to sign up for an appointment. At the time that you pick your appointment, you'll also be asked to identify whether you want to submit your vaccination documentation or whether you will need a COVID-19 test. Each of those then further gives you more information about the next step. So the COVID-19 test will then give you a further form that you need to fill out with our COVID-19 testing vendor to make sure they have your information ready to go for your rapid test when you arrive. If you select vaccination documentation, the portal will link you to the page that you need to go to for Student Health Services to submit that documentation. So it's an either or choice for Summer B.
Thank you. The next couple of questions are also about check-in. So Meredith, Lexi asked, how early can people move in for Summer B at Rosen?
Sure. So Summer B at Rosen are the same check-in dates as for the main campus. So June 25th, 26th, and 27th. We do have a small population of folks moving into Rosen and also in our downtown campus at Union West. And so we are not able to offer testing on those campuses for those check-ins. So any students requiring testing during Summer B move-in for Rosen or Union West can come to the main campus to receive their test, or they can go to one of our COVID testing LLC sites to receive their tests there as well. I should also point out that the test is covered by UCF as long as you follow our instructions and use our testing vendor. We are only accepting testing results from COVID Testing LLC, which is the vendor that we're partnering with.
Thank you. Next check-in related question. What is the 15-minute duration for?
That's how much time you have to move all your stuff in your room. No, just kidding. UCF nights are fast, right? No, that is just to space folks out so that we don't have everyone arriving all at 9 o'clock or all at 3 o'clock. We want to kind of space you out. Even though, as Don said, we are kind of returning to more pre-COVID times, we want to space you out and make things as safe as possible for our students and their guests who are here to help them. And so we want to provide the opportunity to space folks out. So try to arrive as close to your appointment time as possible so that we don't have lots of folks and you don't have to wait in line. We want to space that out for people to make sure that it's not a crowded experience for you. And while we're on that subject, you can bring people to help you move in. I know that has come up before while I'm speaking about crowds. Previously, we had limited that to 2. Currently, there is not a limit for Summer B. We would appreciate it if you don't bring an entire school bus full of folks to help you move in, just because, other people have to move in too, but it's not a specific cap to how many helpers you can have during move-in.
Thank you. And you sort of touched on our next question, which, Donovan, hopefully you can elaborate more on the after move-in piece. Emily asked, are guests going to be able to visit?
Mm-hmm. Yes, great question, Emily. So this is probably a hot topic question. During COVID, of course, we had a restriction on guests and them being able to visit those that live in housing. Once the university has decided to move forward as of June 23rd, we are following protocols as the university is. And so at the moment, we don't have detailed information, but it looks as if we're going to be returning back to normal operations when it comes to guest and visitation. What I would say is your best resource when it becomes available and is updated fully is going to be the community living guide. That is going to be the top and best resource for you to look through, read through what our policies say, our community standards. I know this off the top of my head. I believe they start on page 21. I might be 2 pages off, maybe 22 or 23. But in the community living guide, you will find all the information needed in regard to guests and visitation. So great question.
Thank you, Don. I am actually going to go ahead and screen share one more time just to show folks where they can find that. So if you're on our website and you go to residents, the community living guide is the top link, and it links to the actual PDF document, which you can download and print if you would like to do so. It's not short. It is a 48-page document. So it's right there on the website for you to take a look at. And the updated version will be posted to our website soon. The version that you see at this moment is the one that includes all of the previous COVID restrictions. So an updated CLG will be online as soon as we can get it up there. All right, next question. Meredith, I'm going to go back to you. You touched on this with the 15-minute question, but if there's anything else you want to expand upon, Naomi asked, how much time do we get to move in, and can we come back after a trip to the store?
Okay, yeah, great question, Naomi. So there's not a specific limit to how much time you can take to move in. You do want to arrive as close as possible to your appointment time so that you can either do your testing or show your vaccination documentation and get your key programmed and get all the important information for check-in. Once you have done that, you are free to take as long as you need to move in. We do have unloading zones where you will park your car, and we want to ask you to unload that car and move the car to the long-term parking as soon as possible to make room for the next set of folks that are coming in. So we want to make it as easy as possible for everyone to get their belongings out of their car and into their community. So try not to take super long to unload your car, but if it takes you a while to get the bed made and get everything decorated, we certainly support that and know that that's an important part of the process. Yes, you can go to the store and come back. Once your key is programmed for your room access, you are free to come and go as you like. If you have guests with you, you will have to be escorting them. So you don't want to leave mom, dad, grandma, brother, sister alone in your space while you go to the store. They need to come with you. That is part of our existing guest policy. That's always been the case, but you can come and go once you're checked in.
Thank you, Meredith. And actually, while you touched on that part about escorting your guests, it's also in our policies that everybody's very aware of security procedures and that you don't share your key card or your PIN number with anyone, including family. So when you arrive, your ID card will become your key to the building. And that leads us to the second question that Naomi asked. So Meredith, she asked, is it better to get our UCF ID card in the mail or pick it up in person?
Yeah, I'm really glad that Naomi asked this question because it prompted us to reach out to UCF Card Services to make sure that we have the right answer for you. And so if you're not aware, Card Services does have a process by which you can submit your photo for your ID card online and have your card mailed to you ahead of time. I believe it's a $5 charge to cover the cost of shipping to get it to you. Of course, we're rapidly approaching the Summer Bee move-in date. And so if you can request your card this week, you can go ahead and do that. But past this week, we would not recommend requesting it by mail if you're coming for Summer Bee because we want to make sure it gets to you. And of course, we don't have control over how fast the Postal Service is going to get it to your home. And so this is really kind of a tipping point where you may just want to choose to get your card once you come here. Card Services will be open during the same time that we're open for move-in. And so you could get here on campus, go to Card Services prior to your move-in appointment to obtain your ID card, and then bring it with you to the check-in appointment. That would probably be the best course of action at this point. It is really important to have your UCF ID card with you because, as Sandy said, it will be programmed as your key. And we will run it through a fancy machine. It will then become your key for your specific room. And we will also give you a 4-digit PIN code that will be paired with that card to access your building and your room. And so that's going to be a really important part of the security procedures that we have for you here on campus.
Thank you. All right. Don, back to you. An unnamed follower asked us, what will we be allowed to bring into the dorms? Can you touch a little bit on what they should pack and maybe what they should not bring?
Absolutely. So a great resource we have on our website as well. I'm looking now underneath the Choices tab. And if you click the Nike and Hercules community, I'll start there. So our Summer Bee communities, Neptune, Nike and Hercules, we kind of operate as sister communities, if you may. Nike and Hercules, they mirror each other, and they kind of look similar. And so in Nike and Hercules, there are different options for rooms. Won't necessarily get into specifics for that, but Nike and Hercules typically has spaces that are shared, and you'll see in some of those spaces, for example, like in a living space in a Nike or Hercules, you'll see that there are refrigerators present, right? There's a big, larger refrigerator that residents share. There might be different cabinet spaces and things like that. And so you all would be responsible for bringing anything that is related to, cooking equipment, anything that you want to bring in that regard. For food, you, of course, supply your own food. These spaces do not come with microwaves, so you will have to provide a microwave. In Neptune, for example, there isn't a shared space within the room. We have all suites that are 4-2 style, which is 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Everyone has their individual suite and room inside of that suite. And so I would say typically people, residents would bring, things that, are dear to them. If you want a smaller microwave, in your space, that makes sense. If you want a smaller refrigerator as well in your space, that makes sense. I would say try to stay away from things that would turn into fire hazards. If you look at our community standards and our community living guide, we detail a lot about our fire safety, which is something really, really important. And we try to make sure that we're, I would say, proactive to this. And so you want to stay away from maybe string lights. You want to stay away from, and if you read in detail in the community living guide, you'll get some information about this. You want to stay away from things that prohibit our facilities from operating correctly. So things that may hang over maybe a fire detector or smoke detector. You want to, make sure not to bring things that would inhibit anything inside of the space, and be costly when it comes to the community environment. And so yes, that's just a little bit. I'd say that you probably can get more information in the community living guide as far as detail on what exactly you all should bring. So.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to our next question. Annie asked, parking for parents in the second car. Where? Loading zones. Where? Meredith, can you help out with that?
Yeah, great question. So during the move-in days, you can have cars on campus that do not have parking decals. That is fine. We understand that that's going to happen. Please refrain from parking any cars on the grass or in ADA accessible parking spaces unless you have a permit for that type of space, to make sure that we are keeping our sprinklers intact and allowing accessible parking for folks who need it. But yes, a parent can bring a second car onto campus and can park in the same locations that you have for unloading and for long-term parking. Sandy showed that handy little chart on the website that will show for your community where the unloading zone and where the long-term parking zone is for check-in day. So you want to follow those guidelines in terms of where they can, where a parent could put their car for the time frame that they're on campus helping you. But you don't have to have, as a parent or guest who's helping on check-in day, you don't have to have a parking decal.
Thank you. Annie also asked if food services are open on Sunday for dinner or that sort of thing for students. I can take that one. UCF Dining has lots of locations open on the weekends and at night. Both of our dining halls are open on the weekends, and there are a variety of other brands of restaurants on campus as well. So for that information, you would want to go to ucfdining.com, and they have the current hours of operation posted all the time. So back to a little bit more check-in information. And we are trying to answer everybody's questions. So if there are repeats or slightly similar questions, go ahead and bear with us. So one of our followers asked, can you move in early? Meredith, can you address early move-in of any kind?
Sure. Yeah. For Summer B, we don't have early move-in at this time. Move-in is from June 25th through June 27th. So you do want to make sure you schedule that appointment and plan for your vaccine documentation or COVID-19 test. But at this point, it is those 3 days.
Thank you. And Chloe asked two questions. She asked about the time limit and can we bring more than 2 people? I believe we already addressed those, so we're going to jump into a couple more of our live questions. Dina asked, when will my daughter know when the wait list opens up? Meredith, if you can assist with wait list questions.
Sure. So I'm guessing that this question is geared more towards the fall rather than Summer B. We currently do not have any wait lists for Summer B. And so if a student is in need of Summer B housing, they are able to still go ahead and apply for it and be confirmed and booked in a space on a rolling basis. So for fall, wait list really depends on what the other numbers are looking like. Essentially, we have started to offer to some waitlist folks who are waiting for Northview, but at this time have not been able to make any waitlist offers for our towers or 2-semester academic main housing agreements as we are approaching or over capacity or at capacity for those with our existing housing agreements. So what I would say is for folks on the wait list, we will continue to assess those and look at them up through fall move-in. And so really at this point, it's a personal decision as to how long you feel comfortable waiting if your student is on the wait list with us. In typical years, we've been able to offer some space maybe in late July into early August, depending on what cancellations look like, but we cannot guarantee that to a student on the wait list. So we do recommend taking a look at our off-campus housing at Knight Circle and Point at Central. That's the affiliated housing with the university, and they do have some great options there as well.
Thank you. And I know that, of course, not all of our students are incoming freshmen for Summer B. We do have some transfer and graduate students, and this more applies to fall, but if you are an incoming transfer or graduate student seeking housing, where can they apply, Meredith?
Right now, we do have space for any classification of student in our Union West housing at the downtown campus. You do not have to be in a downtown major in order to live at Union West, which is exciting because it's a really neat downtown campus location where you're really kind of in the center of things. And so that is, if you haven't heard about it, check out the website. It's very cool. It's a high-rise building, and so the first 5 floors are student services, so like gym, academic advisors, all that good stuff. And then floors 6 through 15 are our housing floors, where we have both suite style and apartment style housing. And there is still space available there for any classification of student. You can apply for that through the housing portal. And there's application instructions on our website as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Donna asked, are there elevators in Neptune and Lake Claire for move-in?
Yes. So in Neptune, we definitely have elevators. For Lake Claire is one of our traditional buildings, and so we don't have elevators in that space.
Thank you. All right. Ivana asked, do all guests need to be vaccinated or tested, or is it just the student who's moving in?
The requirement is just for the student moving in. They are the ones that do have to get tested or show their vaccination documentation. We strongly encourage wearing facial coverings if you're able to do so, but it is not a requirement. And when I say that, I mean for guests and for students.
Thank you. At this point, we're jumping back and forth a little bit between our live questions and our pre-submitted questions. I do encourage anybody who is currently viewing live to go ahead and continue submitting those questions, and we'll keep answering them as we go. We do have some questions about what to expect when students are living on campus, what sort of support is available. Don, are you able to touch on a little bit of information about how RAs interact with their residents and maybe some of our student organizations?
Absolutely. So our RAs are pretty much an integral part of what we do here to serve our residents. And so as residents live here in our halls, pretty much every floor in housing has an RA or a resident assistant on that floor. And so that person is a resource. They are also a student like the residents, and they are in classes in school as well. And they serve in a capacity where they're in a care capacity. And what does that mean? So that means that here for us in Residence Life and Housing, we want to make sure that the safety of our residents is a top priority. That includes the idea of having conversations that, for example, might need to be difficult conversations when it comes to certain things. We see a lot, for example, a lot of students that come to campus that may have just some struggles or issues adapting to campus and the campus climate, and coming from a place that might be way different than what they're used to. Our RAs are very, very, I would say, helpful in providing resources to connect students on campus, to make sure that students know what their resources are, to make sure that the students feel at home. We want this to be a home feeling, and we want to make sure that we're providing that quality service, that customer service that you all will experience during move-in, but also to let you know that we care, and make sure that our resident assistants are equipped with resources to share out to residents when needed. And so, and we also do something you'll see in the residential curriculum, something called intentional conversations, which is something that resident to RA will have a huge interaction throughout the entire semester and throughout the academic year. And so, yes, excellent question.
Thank you, Don. All right. A couple more questions here. Oh, one point that we wanted to touch on is our room design contest, which is currently being posted on our social media channel. Anybody who's interested in this, we have an annual contest every fall. So if you are moving in for summer B, you kind of have the advantage because you'll already have a little bit more experience decorating your space and getting all your things put together. So our room design contest is exactly what it sounds like. Residents can submit photos of their space and their decorations and how they have their room set up, and prizes are awarded. Those prizes include an iPad mini, some Fitbits, some Bluetooth speakers. So if you haven't seen that, we encourage you, number one, to follow us on our social media channels. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. And we strongly recommend that everybody take a look at that room design contest because it's a lot of fun to participate in. Couple more questions. We're about out of questions, actually. I do see some questions about what kind of dietary needs meal plans can accommodate, questions about vegetarian or vegan. So if you do have questions about that, you can ask our dining services folks in the chat. All right, Liz is asking, have the details and dates for move-in for fall been announced? Meredith, can you address that?
We do not have official approval on that yet. We're still working to make sure that we have the safest and most up-to-date information for you in terms of what testing and things like that are going to look like. Traditional fall move-in, we know will at least be happening August 20th, 21st, and 22nd, which is the weekend before classes start. It's highly likely that early move-in will start on August 15th. For our folks that are participating in sorority recruitment, band and theater camps, Lead Scholars Retreat, Housing Leadership Institute, and that type of thing. We're just getting some finalized details on what that process is going to look like before we get those appointments out to you. You will need to schedule an appointment for fall move-in, similar to summer B move-in. So just be ready for that. And I think Dawn said it best earlier, stay attached to your night's email. That's really going to be where that information is going to come to you first, and also on the website that Sandy was showing.
Okay, I am scrolling through. Oh, okay, all right. We're still getting a few questions in our live chat here. Dawn, hopefully you can answer this one. Are shower curtains needed for Neptune?
Yes, great question, Donna. Yes, shower curtains are not provided across campus. It's pretty standard that the spaces, and I missed this part, come with some furniture. And so there's furniture present. There's a table, usually for students in the space, and then there's some chairs, a bed, of course, and then the smaller amenities that you'll need. Shower curtains aren't available. Hand soap for, the bathroom isn't available. So we do have our facilities who comes in and they've been, in the past, they've done some weekly cleaning. And so we'll see what that update looks like now that we're post-COVID going forward. But yes, great question.
Oh, can I jump in right quick and say, don't forget your toilet paper?
Yes, indeed. That is very, very important.
Yes, our packing list actually has been updated in the last few months. Housekeeping policies are updated, and residents should expect to bring in their own cleaning supplies and toilet paper. And all of that information is in the packing list on the Before You Arrive page. All right, seeing a couple more questions coming in on the chat here. Meredith, Kristen asks, when do students need to move out of their space if they're changing to towers for the fall?
Yeah, great question. So summer B move out is August 7th. And so for our folks that are joining us for summer B and living elsewhere for fall, you do have to move out between summer B and fall. And so when you are looking at that packing list for summer B, think about this as 6 weeks. You don't have to have your winter clothes. You don't need your prom gown. Maybe you can cut back on the number of organizational supplies that you bring, because what you're bringing in June, you will need to bring back out by August 7th. And so then move back in for the fall semester. And then you'll, of course, be with us for longer at that point through the fall and spring semesters, and potentially summer if you're in an annual agreement. So definitely plan ahead for that. Summer B goes by pretty quick, but it is an exciting time for our folks that are joining us.
Thank you. And actually, when I was scrolling through the move-in pages of our website, I mentioned we have the moving and storage page. That is very useful if you do plan to bring belongings for summer B that you'd rather just put in storage for 2 weeks and then take back out. So there are quite a few local storage facilities that sort of specialize in college moving experiences. So definitely a great resource, especially if you don't have a whole bunch of helpers to come help lug the mini fridge and the boxes and the bins. So great resource there. A couple more questions here in the live chat. Do the rooms have a place to lock up valuables, like with a master lock and then in the desk? So that one's from Annie. Can either of you assist with that question?
Yeah, so at the moment, we don't provide that service. So that's something that residents will have to provide themselves. That's a great question. And it might be a great addition to what we do in the future, but at the moment, no.
Thank you. All right. Oh, another question for Dawn. And this one comes from our YouTube feed. Mrs. Sunshine Online would like to know, what room temperature did they keep the AC in at the Neptune suite?
Absolutely. So we are a 70 to 72 community. Please make sure to remind residents to keep the temperature there for reasons that you all might know. So over in the Neptune community specifically, our windows do not open. And so we don't get that airflow like you might get over Nike or Hercules or across campus. And so this is something that's really, really important when it comes to certain things and making sure that the quality of the space is at a good place. So great question.
Thank you, Don. Jumping around a little bit, more questions in the feed. Angela is asking, are roommates typically scheduled in the same time frame or day?
So I'm thinking that question is asking for move-in appointments. Are they scheduled on the same day? And no, roommates can schedule to arrive on whatever day they would like. So if you want to arrive on the same day as your roommate or around the same time, you can certainly communicate with them to pick a similar time frame. But we are not putting any criteria in place that require roommates to come at a specific time frame.
Thank you. I'm not sure who wants to take this one. Liz is asking, are all dorms cleaned and sanitized prior to move-in? And can we arrange for cleaning?
Great question. So I will say that before move-in, we make sure to have all rooms move-in ready. For us, what that means is our facility staff goes in and they're intentional about cleaning the spaces. They make sure to vacuum, they make sure to wipe down, especially given the season we just came off of with COVID. Make sure to wipe down the spaces, make sure everything is sanitized so that the first person that goes into that space as it's vacant, they are moving into a clean space. And so that's a standard we have currently and at the moment. Right now, we do require students, and this is in, I believe, the housing agreement and also in the community living guide, we do require students to make sure that they clean behind themselves, though. They're responsible for the cleaning of their own spaces when it comes to making sure that their space is livable. So, taking trash out, we can talk in detail about roommate agreements and what that looks like, but making sure that the entire suite or room is mindful that they must be cleaning behind themselves. There are times in the past where we've had facility staff come in, as mentioned, and clean spaces. And Sandy mentioned that you can find that information updated on the facility site. But all in all, residents are required to make sure that they're cleaning behind themselves. And we encourage that as well. So.
Thank you, Don. And that actually answers the next question in the chat. Donna asked if housekeeping cleans the bathrooms or if students are responsible for their own space. So yes, students do need to clean their own bathrooms. That has been the case for a little while, and cleaning supplies are on that packing list for that reason. So one thing I do want to point out, however, is that students generally have the ability to borrow or check out a vacuum from the community offices. Is that correct, Don? Can you touch on what the procedure is for that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. So pre-COVID, we had a process where students were able to go to their local community office and provide their student ID as collateral, or, well, that's an old system, but now we have a system on Star Ranch where we can track the different resources that are available. And so those in the past have included vacuums, as mentioned, for cleaning. Some communities have games, and board games and things like that. So that's definitely a thing, a part of our process. And we look forward to opening back up to a place where we can do that.
Thank you, Don. Can you recommend any other items that residents should maybe leave at home?
Yeah, so I'm looking now at the website. I had a tab up. So if you're looking at the different, there's some pictures of the rooms that are available. We often see, or what I often see is some residents like to bring furniture. They like to bring their own couches, sometimes like a love seat or some furniture that might be too large to fit in the spaces. We have to be mindful of the dimensions of the room. I would say that helpful items are things that residents find that are cherishable to them from back home, to kind of help them, remind them of where they came from, but then also to blankets and sheets, bed sheets that fit, and covers and things like that. Those are some of the things that you all would bring, but we are pretty much furnished when it comes to the essentials that you'll need, like a chair, a desk, a bed, closet space for you to hang some items. And so, yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Don. Yes. Great point about the furniture. I know that sometimes we have concerns about residents who are asking if they can have furniture removed from the spaces. From previous orientations, I can tell you the answer is no, you cannot remove the furniture that is provided. Many residents do bring mattress pads or really thick covers for their mattresses, and that's fine, but you cannot remove or store the mattress or the bed that's provided in your space. So something to keep in mind. Meredith, I know that you handle a lot of the before you move in policy questions. Are there any specific items like that are policy violations that students should keep in mind?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you all the fun stuff that I've heard people get in trouble for. And so things that you really want to avoid are unauthorized pets. So if you can have a fish in a 10-gallon or smaller tank, welcome. Bring your little swimming friend. That does not mean a lizard that lives in a tank or a turtle that lives in a tank. It needs to be a fish. If you have an emotional support animal or assistance animal, of course, there is a process for that. And so that is separate from when I'm talking about pets, but pets need to stay at home. Any kind of lamps that could be a fire hazard. So like those octopus torchère kind of things, we don't want to have those. Anything that looks like or is a firearm. So BB guns, pellet guns, paintball guns, those types of things, you really want to, or not really want to, you will leave those at home, please. We want to make sure that you are safe and everyone is safe. No Wi-Fi routers, so you cannot set up a Wi-Fi router in your residence hall. We do have Wi-Fi for you, and so you don't need to bring your own there. I love that water beds is on the list of things not to bring. I will say that in my 19 years, I have not seen anyone get in trouble for a water bed because no one has dared to bring one in. But also anything with an open heating element, or that an open flame. So I'm sorry that your fondue pot cannot come with you to Summer B or to fall housing. But anything with an open element, you want to be real careful that you're following our policies on that. Toaster ovens, George Foreman grills, crock pots, instant pots, air fryers, those type of fun appliances where you're going to make all your fantastic food. Please make sure that you are in an apartment if you are bringing those. If you are in a shared room, you want to leave those extra appliances at home because there's not the proper ventilation in our shared rooms and in our rooms without kitchens to take care of those. If you have a bike, you're going to need to bring a chain to chain that up outside. We're not bringing bikes inside the building because of the damage that they can do to walls, carpets, and that sort of thing. And so I think those are the major things. The only other thing I can think of that Don kind of touched on before is if you want to, say, put up a curtain over your closet, which we see a lot of folks do that, you need to make sure that it is lowered down from the ceiling. We can't have anything that's going to get in the way of sprinklers going off in the event of a fire, so we can't cover up those smoke detectors or those sprinkler distribution areas. So.
Awesome. Thank you both. That was very comprehensive and very helpful. I will touch on one more that I have seen come into the hall several times, which is decorative weaponry. We don't care if you're going to hang the sword on a wall, it's still a weapon. It needs to stay home. So not even just pellet guns, but anything that resembles any kind of a weapon. That includes size, throwing stars, swords, any weaponry of any kind. So that should all stay at home. And then this is sort of a stay at home and bring. When you are packing, it's important to remember your own prescription medications. We do have residents who don't pack it because they have to take it that morning, and then they pack up for move-in and leave those things on the vanity. And it can be difficult to replace prescription medication in a new place very quickly. So good thing to remember. If it is prescription medication that is not prescribed to you, that is definitely a leave at home item. So that's kind of a bring and leave. Okay, we've got one more question that was dropped into the chat. Can parents visit and eat at dining halls during move-in? That is Mary from YouTube.
Yes, so parents are free to visit. And one good thing about the dining halls here, it's been a year, of course, the pandemic, since I've eaten over near the Towers area. One good thing is that you can purchase a meal, and you don't necessarily have to be associated with UCF. You can, be there with your resident that lives in housing or your student that attends UCF. And so there's a bunch of options, especially over. Just a little shout out to the Knights Plaza area. I used to work over in the Towers area. So a bunch of dining options over there. And so, yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. All right. I think we are coming to the end of all of our questions. I do want to thank you guys so much for your time. I do want to give Don and Meredith both a chance just to touch on any topics you think we've missed that you would want people to know before they move in for summer B. So Don, starting with you, is there anything else you want our parents and our families and our students to know?
I think we've covered pretty much everything. We are excited to receive you all here in our community. And so, yes, I would say stay tuned to your Knights email. That's going to be the best resource right now as you prep to move in. And yes, go Knights.
Well, I think we've covered so much good stuff here. So I maybe could reiterate a couple of things that we've said is one, really make sure that you're reading that move-in information on the website. And if you and your family are coming together for move-in, maybe sit down and all look at it together so that you can all be familiar with some of the intricacies of that. It is a little bit detailed because of the need for testing and vaccination documentation and loading and unloading zones. And so if you're familiar with it, then it's going to be a little bit easier on move-in day that you already know those resources are there. And then I also do want to encourage you to take a look at our dining services folks website and think about a meal plan. We really highly recommend that, especially for our incoming first year students. That's a really helpful thing for them to have if you think about you're moving potentially to a new state, potentially to a new city, a completely new living environment than you've maybe ever been in before. If food is something that you don't have to worry about, then that's amazing. And so they do have some great options for our students. So definitely check that out and look at those meal plans. And then finally, we just want to encourage you to be excited. We're excited. We're really glad that folks are coming to campus for summer B, and we're really thrilled for you to arrive in a few weeks. So thank you.
Don, Meredith, thank you both so much for your time and for your knowledge and expertise and just all the great information. I hope that all of our families and all of our students who are watching have gotten your questions answered. If you do still need to reach out to us, you can reach us by email very easily. It's just housing@ucf.edu. You can also reach us by phone, 407-823-4663 is the main phone line for UCF Housing. And the cheater way to remember that is that spells 407 UCF home. So parents and families, if you want to make sure there's one phone number your student remembers, UCF home will get them in touch with our housing administration staff. That is the main phone line to our department. It is answered Monday through Friday during business hours. The numbers to all of our actual community offices are located on our website, and those numbers are answered 24 hours, so they always have access to their community staff. And if you have administrative questions for our awesome assignments team and other folks, you can reach us during business hours Monday through Friday. And if I said 8 before, it's 9 to 5. I apologize on the phone lines. And the thing I want folks to know is that our department, our staff, you can see us here on the screen, we're real live humans. We do answer the phone with real live humans, and those are the same folks who answer the housing@ucf.edu email. So if it does take you a little while to get through to someone on the phone, that is because there are only so many of us and we are actually talking to everyone. Same with email. If it takes you a little while to get a reply, please just be patient with us. We handle a lot of questions, and we take pride in looking up exactly what every student's situation is so we can provide the most accurate information possible for you. So we are so excited that you all tuned in today. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And as we said before, this recording will be available on Facebook and on YouTube. Follow us on all of our social media channels, and everybody have a fantastic evening. Thanks so much. Go Knights. Charge on.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.